Yes. Matthew 21, yes, it's the one that talks about Jesus comes to Jerusalem as king. As they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage. This video I did about the Palm Sunday. But let us see.
On a regular summer day in Jerusalem, July 2024, something caught everyone off guard. A group of tourists standing by the eastern wall of the Temple Mount looked up and froze at what they saw. The Golden Gate, a massive sealed gate that hadn't moved in over 480 years, was standing partially open. This isn't a gate bare hands could open. There were no sounds of drilling or signs of construction, just silence in this. People couldn't believe what they were seeing as videos of the gate popped up online. This gate, tied to deep religious prophecies in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, was suddenly no longer closed. And now, everyone is asking the same thing. When did it move, and why now? Is the ancient prophecy of Messiah's return coming to pass? The first known footage appeared online in early July 2024, taken by a Palestinian man filming the eastern wall of the Temple Mount. What he captured made people gasp. Behind a patch of scaffolding, the gate looked slightly pushed inward, as if someone or something had nudged it open. Others began filming too. Some caught Israeli guards looking confused, pacing nearby but not interfering. Crowds gathered. Tourists and locals, both Jewish and Palestinian, stared from a distance, whispering and pointing. But what made things more strange was the silence. The Israeli government made no public comment. Guards were reportedly told to redirect people away from the site, but there was no formal announcement. Some people claimed the gate had been open for a few days before the videos surfaced. Others swore it had briefly closed again. A few said they saw no tools, cranes, or loud work, just stillness. Religious leaders either stayed quiet or spoke vaguely. Everyone seemed unsure of what they were dealing with. And now, the biggest question is, why didn't the people in charge just tell us what really happened? Was this just an odd moment in time, or has something begun that we can't undo? To understand why this moment matters, you have to go back, not just decades, but centuries into the heart of Jerusalem's history. The Golden Gate, known in Hebrew as Sha'ar HaRashamim, or the Gate of Mercy, is the easternmost entrance to the Temple Mount. It stands facing the Mount of Olives, a place that itself carries enormous weight in Jewish, Christian, and Muslim tradition. Some scholars believe the current gate was built in the 6th or 7th century AD, while others say it could rest on foundations that date back to the time of the Second Temple. But what sets this gate apart isn't just its age, it's what people believe it stands for. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 44, verses 1 to 2, the prophet describes a vision where the eastern gate is shut and will remain shut because the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered through it. No one else may enter. It is closed until the return of divine glory. That single prophecy turned an ancient stone gate into a marker of the end times, and possibly the beginning of something new. In 1541, Muslim rulers sealed the gate with stones. They knew the messianic expectations tied to it. So, to prevent the Jewish Messiah's arrival, they also built cemeteries in front of it, hoping the presence of graves would stop any priestly figure from ever walking through. The strange part, it wasn't faith that motivated them. It was fear. They feared what would happen if the prophecy ever proved true. Since then, the gate has remained untouched. No entry, no renovation, no visible reason to change that. And yet, here we are. What kind of force could undo a closure made in fear? And what if the gate was never truly sealed by human hands in the first place? The Eastern Gate of Jerusalem isn't just a historical wall, it's deeply spiritual ground. The Bible makes repeated mention of this very direction. In Ezekiel 43, the prophet sees the glory of the Lord coming from the east, entering through the gate facing that direction. It's not just an isolated image. Zechariah 14 verse 4 gives us another prophetic clue that the Messiah's feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, and from there, he will enter Jerusalem. This isn't metaphor. The Mount of Olives lies directly across from the Eastern Gate. In the New Testament, Acts 1 verses 11 to 12 recalls how Jesus ascended into heaven from the Mount of Olives. Angels standing by told the watching disciples that he would return in like manner. And centuries before that, on what we now call Palm Sunday, Jesus rode into Jerusalem from the east. a deliberate path that mirrored the entry of a king. That direction mattered fervently for the early church, and it still does for many Jewish mystics. They believe that gate isn't just any gate. It's the portal through which the Anointed One, the Messiah, will return. So, if that gate has now been seen open again, whether by accident, by intention, or by something else entirely, it's not just a physical event, it's a deeply symbolic one. If this wasn't prophecy fulfilled, why does it echo every detail we were told to watch for? As soon as the footage began to circulate, speculation took over. Some claimed that restoration crews working under the Islamic Waqf may have been inspecting the wall and unintentionally left the inner gate unlatched. Others suggested that Israeli officials, under pressure to preserve historical sites, may have quietly authorized minor repairs without making a public announcement. Another theory was that someone tampered with the gate from within, just the inner portion, not the main stone seal that has been closed for centuries. But there's a problem. No photos were released, no restoration machinery was visible in the surrounding area. There were no known permits filed, no scaffolding explained, and not a single worker interviewed in the days that followed. The usual bureaucratic noise that accompanies even routine construction was completely absent. And the most mystifying part? Even religious officials offered only vague, non-committal answers. Some called it routine maintenance. Others brushed off the questions altogether. That silence only made people more uneasy. Because the truth is, this isn't a site anyone touches casually. In the past, even approaching the sealed gate for political or religious reasons has triggered protests and international scrutiny. If this was an accident, then it happened under a divine lens. Because countless people were watching. And if it was deliberate, then whoever did it didn't want credit. It was done quietly, as if something ancient had been unlocked, not forced open, but released. Why was there no sound when history shifted? And if no person stepped forward to take responsibility, did something else take that first step? In the same week the gate appeared to shift, the region was shaken, literally and spiritually. Parts of the Holy Land were hit by unseasonal flash floods. Unpredictable winds moved through Jerusalem. For some, it was just weather, but for others, it was a mirror of something symbolic blowing through the land. Reports surfaced of renewed tensions on the Temple Mount. Fringe groups claiming Levitical ancestry attempted animal sacrifices again. Police intervened, but the message had already spread. Some were preparing for something bigger. At the same time, prayers intensified on the Mount of Olives. Messianic worship gatherings grew in number. Psalm 24 started flooding Christian feeds. "Lift up your heads, O gates, that the King of Glory may come in." Yet that was just the start of it. Jewish activists also joined stirring. Some renewed calls for greater access to the Temple Mount. Others began petitioning quietly for permission to hold prayer services closer to the site. The symbolism wasn't lost on those online. Social media lit up with interpretations. Some called it a sign. Others said it was spiritual warfare. Most simply stared at the footage, uneasy but captivated. "The king is coming," one caption read, above an image of the eastern gate cracking open under a strange sky. Whether you're a firm believer, a curious skeptic, or someone in between, moments like this tap into convictions buried deep. It's as if the soul recognizes a pattern before the mind understands it. Are these just coincidences stacking up? Or are we watching divine rhythms playing out again? Theologians, rabbis, and scholars didn't stay quiet for long. In Jerusalem, several rabbinic leaders urged caution. Don't leap to conclusions, they said. But in the same breath, some quietly referenced midrashic traditions about gates awakening at the appointed time. A few even opened up ancient commentaries suggesting the gate was more than stone. It was a spiritual threshold. Christian prophecy watchers reacted quickly. "This is the quiet trumpet," one teacher said in a live stream. "A move so subtle, the world misses it, but heaven doesn't." They pointed to Revelation 19, which speaks of Christ returning on a white horse, from that same direction, to that same gate. On Muslim channels, a few voices connected it to Mahdi prophecies. Some believe the Mahdi will come through the east, echoing the exact symbolism used in the traditions of the gate. A strange overlap, even if the interpretations differ. Orthodox Jews looked again at Moshiach, Ben David prophecies, specifically those linked to a time of chaos followed by unexpected hope. One old rabbinic tradition even claimed the sealed gate would open again when sorrow stirs the nations and eyes look east. And that's the strange part. Every tradition feels stirred, but none agree on what's coming. Some say it's redemption, others say judgment. Many agree on just one thing: it feels dreadfully close. Is the fulfillment already unfolding, not with fire as the world expected, but with motion? And if so, has the countdown already begun? When the images of the gate began circulating, the reactions were immediate and raw. Some people stood in silence, phones shaking in their hands as they recorded the moment. Others cried openly. One woman, standing just feet from the sealed gate, was heard whispering in Hebrew, "He is coming." Another quietly crossed herself and wiped away tears. A small group of tourists reached out and touched the outer wall, as if trying to feel something beyond the stone. One child tugged at their mother's sleeve and asked, "Is this the door to God?" There was no clear answer, but the moment didn't seem to need one. These weren't theologians or prophecy experts. They were people. People who, for a few seconds, felt something pierce through the ordinary. It didn't come with thunder. It came with stillness. We don't always know when God is moving, but when He does, it stirs even the ones who say they don't believe. Did heaven nudge something open to awaken hearts that had fallen asleep? Or is this just the first knock on the door, before it fully swings wide? So now we're left with one spitting image. The gate is open, or at least it was. Maybe it still is, maybe not for much longer. There's been no official confirmation, no denial. Just a moment caught on camera that the world can't seem to look away from. What we know is simple. That same gate, sealed shut for hundreds of years, was caught slightly ajar. A break in the stone, a gap, and the three major faiths of the world all noticed, each drawing their own meaning from the silence. Was it just an old wall finally giving way? Or did someone open it? Was it planned, accidental, or something altogether outside of human hands? Some say it was a maintenance crew. Others say it was shifting soil from recent storms. A few believe the timing was too perfect to ignore, but maybe the reason feels bigger than any explanation. Whether this was a coincidence or a divine appointment, when prophecy begins to manifest, it doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just happens in slow motion, then waits to see who's listening. Is this the beginning of fulfillment, or just the start of an awakening? And if that gate opens again, could it be the final time?